Hi, I'm Darren. In this segment, we're going to do a wonderful Cajun dry rubbed hanger steak with two sides. We have a traditional Hungarian cucumber salad with, which has been brined in a pickling liquid with a little bit of cayenne pepper on top. And we also have some homemade onions, which are pickled in a very, very nice pickling liquid over there. So we're going to use those as the sides. But the star of the show is flank steak. So let's have a look at this. Flank steak is the diaphragm muscle. It's from this part of the cow here. It's a reflexor muscle. It works a lot. So it has long muscle fibers and it's quite tough. Hence, you need to have a decent technique for cooking this bad boy. Two different ways. One, flash grill it on the open fire or pan fry it, okay? And if you can't do that, you have to cook it for really long. Anything in between, it's gonna be tough as all boots and not good at all. All right, let's have a look at the cut. Okay, so there we have a beautiful half a flank steak. So the flank steak is one of the cheaper cuts. It's like a chuck cut. It's very, very affordable. It's not the ribeye or the rump steak traditionally, which is much more expensive, or the sirloin or the porterhouse. This is an economy cut of beef, and it is absolutely my favorite because it has much more flavor than, say, a fillet or a filet mignon, which is soft but has very little flavor because that muscle doesn't work. This muscle works a lot, so it's slightly tougher. You can see the striated muscle fibers that are along here. If you cook this properly and have the correct technique, what's going to happen is you're going to have a wonderful finished product. Okay, so we're going to take a whole bunch of dry rub spices. Traditionally, you can use this Cajun style, you can do it Italian with oregano and other bits and bobs. But we're going to use onion powder, garlic powder, cayenne pepper, Montreal steak seasoning, and a little bit of chipotle smoked pepper as well. A lot of heat, a lot of depth, ton of smokiness, and it's going to be absolutely terrific. Okay, so let's just get these all sorted out. All right, so we're just gonna go basically 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, 2 teaspoons of onion powder, 1.5 teaspoons of the Montreal steak seasoning. It's about 1/2 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and I'm just gonna pop some Italian chili flakes in just for an additional bit of heat. I like it spicy. You guys can have it any way you want. Dull the spice down, add additional flavors, oregano, thyme, whatever you feel like. But make sure that you either put in a mortar and pestle and grind it up to wake in the spices, or just use your fingers and push them together. You can pan fry the sauce as well in a dry pan to wake up the oils and the flavors. Or if you don't have time / inclination, just use your God-given fingers and you'll get a similar result. All right, so there we go. So all you want to do is you grab your hanger steak and you're just going to firmly push it down into the rub, and you'll see how much sticks straight to that. Looking absolutely lovely. So this is just building a vertical flavor profile with tons of spice. You got the salt in it, I mean not the salt, you got the garlic powder, you got the onion powder, and it's looking wonderful. This is going to char up really beautifully in the pan. If you want, we'll see how the moisture content looks, but you can finish it with a little bit of balsamic just to add some additional moisture and another little bit of sweetness and a little bit of flavor to it. All right, so I'm just keep turning it over, just pat it in, just make sure that everything's nice and coated. Feel free to do this overnight. You can put it on a plate, stick it in the fridge, and the flavors will just get more and more robust the longer you leave it on. But because we have quite a lot of strong flavor, we don't have to do it too long. Even just 20 minutes before works like a charm. Okay, just gonna wash my hands, get some olive oil down, we're gonna pan fry this big fella. Okay, we are ready to get some heat on this. All right, nuclear reactor number 1 is on and ready. Put a little preheated pan, put a little bit of olive oil, 3-4 tablespoons will be fine. You need to get a decent coating on the underside of the pan because you do want to pan fry this pretty quickly. You want a high heat, seals the outside, keeps the moisture in, seals in the flavor. Don't poach it, don't cook it too long. If you cook it too long, it gets really, really tough and gray. Remember the old scale? If you want to cook and touch the meat as you're cooking, when it gets to here, see I'm taking these 2 fingers, put them together, that's rare. that's medium rare, that's medium, and that's well done. So the same feeling of this muscle equates to the same feeling for the hanger steak, or any steak for that matter. Okay, let's just check the oil. Make sure the viscosity of the oil has changed slightly. Once it gets thin and starts moving around the pan easily, you got the right temperature. Okay, and this with the two sides, the cucumber salad and the pickled onions, gonna really jump off the plate. A lot of robust flavors. All right, touch the side of the pan. If it's too hot to touch, the pan's ready to go. All right, I can see the legs in the oil starting to move, so we're good. Just shake off any excess and down we go. Okay, perfect. So the total cooking time will be a couple of minutes for rare. I'd say 3 to 4 minutes on the presentation side, which is the first side you cook. Flip it over 2 minutes, total cooking time about 5 minutes. All right, so a couple of tablespoons of balsamic, just in case we need to add that at the end. Once this is cooked up to the desired temperature, we're gonna cut it on the bias. Cutting on the bias means you're cutting through more muscle fiber and you're artificially tenderizing the meat. Don't just cut it straight, tilt the knife and cut it at an angle, and you'll get much longer, thinner, more elegant strips that are actually more tender because you've cut through more of the muscle fiber. Okay, don't forget, once you've cooked it, a key to meat is resting. So let's say you've cooked it for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever your desired temperature is. When you put it in the cutting board, some people cover it with tin foil. You don't need to. Just let it rest. Let it rest for about 3 or 4 minutes. What happens then is the liquid that has escaped the muscle fibers goes back into the muscle fibers, so when you cut it, it doesn't jettison all that juice. All right, let's have a look and see how we're doing here. We've got a nice crispy sort of bark on that, so I'm just going to let it go a little bit longer. This is on high heat. We need to seal it and get a lot of caramelization down, so you don't want to flip it again and again and again. Just flip it once. So 3, 4, 5 minutes, depending on what temperature you want, depending on the heat of your stove. We're just going to flip it over once now. Let's have a look. There we go. You get that beautiful brown char, and over it goes. Okay, perfect. All right, now I'm going to drop the heat just a smidge because we've done the presentation side. Now we actually want the meat to cook a little bit longer. So 5 minutes on the first side, 3 minutes on the second side, 8 minutes will be about a medium. 5 minutes will be about a rare. Okay. The reason there's such a lot of smoke is because of all the garlic powder, the onion powder, all the cayenne peppers. They have a ton of smoke points in them. So that's why you're getting that smoke and that sort of black discharge. That's all the sort of spices that have been cooked. That's okay. Just let it cook up. If you don't like it, just take a towel and just dab it through, or change pans if you really want to, but you don't need to. Just let it cook. All right, so the sides are going to cook up a little faster, obviously, because they're thinner. The center is going to be blood red at the moment. Let me check the bottom and see how we're looking. That is looking absolutely terrific. Put that back down and just let it go. So I want it nice and rare. So we're just going to cook it for about 5-6 minutes. Obviously, the longer you cook it, be very careful with flank. It's tricky. It can get overcooked quite quickly. Make sure you keep it rare. If you don't like rare meat, this is not the one for you. Then you need to go into a softer cut, like a filet mignon or a porterhouse or a prime rib or something like that, which doesn't do as much work. It'll be a lot softer on the teeth. All right. All right, this is looking great. There's a nice bark underneath that. Put it down again. And I'm just feeling it the whole time, feeling the center. It's still very rare. So I'm just going to let it go a little longer, another minute or so. Tastes great. That bark is really looking good. The longer you keep in the fridge, the more intense those Cajun flavors will be. If you want to finish it now with balsamic, the sugar in the balsamic will make it even darker and more caramelized. So you can do that if you want, or just put it in right at the end, like 20 seconds before you're done. Also, another really important thing is, let your steak sit at room temperature before you cook it. It lets everything come up to the right temperature, and it doesn't shock when it goes into the pan. It's pretty much the same thing as eggs. When you're going to cook eggs, take them out, let everything be room temperature. Cheese, same thing. Cheese is best at room temperature. Don't be scared of the product. Let it come up to temperature, and then either prepare it or eat it. All right. So put that down. A little bit of balsamic to finish. There we go. All the water vapor is going to escape, and it's going to give a nice sweetness to that bark. Okay, there we go. Let's have a look. The underside is looking great. A little more, just a smidge. Then we're going to let it rest for a couple of minutes. Okay, there we go. Let's put that there. Grab the balsamic. Let's drip that on. Let's kill the heat. All right. Rest, little piece of cow. Rest. All right, 3 minutes. Counting now. Okay, so the steak has rested for about 3 or 4 minutes, and all the wonderful juices have sort of augmented into the cells. If you can look here carefully, the muscle fibers run this way, right? Never cut with the muscle fiber. Cut against the muscle fiber. So across the grain on the bias, you'll get 2 types of tenderization. All right, so flip that through like that. Remember cutting on the bias, not straight like this. Over here, we want a lot of surface area. It's going to open up the meat beautifully, and it's going to sort of artificially tenderize it. Okay, here we go. So nice and thin as you can. It's going to, the thinner, the better, because it's going to help a lot with that tenderization. Start cutting at the thin side first, and just work your way through the meat. All right. This is pretty rare, but this is the way I like it. If it's too rare, feel free to cook it a little bit longer. Okay, so there we go. So that is a beautiful strip of either what you can call flank or hanger steak. Some people even call it the butcher's cut, because this to me is the best cut of meat. Let me have a little taste. Wow, it's tender, flavorsome, absolutely delicious. Okay, I'm just going to cut this in half, so it's going to be easier for me to cut in the bias. There we go. All right, let's grab a plate, and we're ready to plate and make it look nice and pretty. Okay, so we're just gonna do one quick plating here. Get some of the stuff that's a little bit better done on the outside. Get that in the sauce, over there. And some of the stuff that's a little less cooked, let's fold that, like that. Always remember, presentation is quite key. You want to make it look as presentable as possible, because eating with your eyes, it's a good thing. Okay, there we go. Maybe one more. So this is like a portion for one. The flank steak probably feed about 3 people, so it's half a flank. All right, there we go. And now we want to put the sides on. Okay, grab a little bit of that. So this is the traditional Hungarian cucumber salad. That, and we're going to do some pickled onions. Beautiful high protein dish. Okay, there we go. Lots of color, really pretty on the plate. It looks absolutely terrific. There we go. Hanger steak with a dry Cajun rub, traditional Hungarian salad, and some pickled onions. What could be better? Beautiful dinner, great lunch, nice robust wine with this, a Barolo, a big full-bodied Cab Sav. That kind of thing is going to sort of round out the dish and bring all the flavors together. Thanks very much for watching Cajun rubbed hanger steak. Love cooking for you. The food goes on.